Let's talk about a pretty controversial idea, one from Steven Pinker. What if that gut feeling we all have, that the world is constantly getting worse, is just wrong? He makes a powerful data-driven case for progress, and it's all rooted in the ideals of the Enlightenment. Let's dig in.
I mean, that question almost feels silly to ask, doesn't it? You turn on the news, you scroll through your social media feed, and it's just a relentless wave of crisis, disaster, and outrage. It's so easy to feel like everything is spiraling out of control. And this right here is the central conflict Pinker wants us to see. This massive, massive gap between our perception, which is shaped by those daily headlines, and the actual reality. A reality you can only see when you zoom out and look at the data over decades, even centuries. Okay, so before we get to all the surprisingly good news, let's first acknowledge that feeling of pessimism. Because it's not just in your head, it's being actively reinforced every single day by the world around us.
And you know what? This isn't just a hunch. It's actually measurable. Researchers used a really cool technique called sentiment mining. Basically, they had computers analyze millions of news articles, and they found that since the 1960s, the tone of news all over the world has become progressively, undeniably gloomier.
Now, this constant drumbeat of negativity has some pretty real consequences. Pinker's point is that when all we ever hear is that our institutions are failing and our problems are incurable, we lose faith. We lose faith in our ability to actually fix things, and that fosters this really dangerous desire for someone to just come along and smash the whole machine.
All right, so we've established why we all feel so down. Now let's flip the script and look at the other side of the story, the data. Pinker calls this first part the Great Escape, and it's about humanity's absolutely stunning breakout from the historical norms of disease, famine, and early death.
I want you to just let this number sink in for a second. For pretty much all of human history, the average life expectancy on this planet was about 30 years old. Today, the global average is over 71. In just a couple of centuries, we have more than doubled the amount of life available to the average person. That might be the single greatest achievement in our species' history.
It is honestly so hard for us today to even imagine what life was like before this escape. This quote, this is a real first-hand account of a famine in the 17th century. And the terrifying thing is, this was the norm. Famine wasn't some rare crisis. It was a constant, lurking threat for most people for most of history.
Now contrast that brutal scarcity with this number, 3,100. That's the average number of daily calories available for every person in China today. We've gone from a world of constant famine to a world where, against all the old predictions that we'd run out of food, the developing world has figured out how to feed itself.
I absolutely love this story because it shows how much we've forgotten how to appreciate our victories. I mean, can you imagine a scientific announcement causing a global, spontaneous celebration like that today? This was the reaction to conquering polio, a disease that used to kill and paralyze thousands every year. We've become so used to progress that we barely even notice it anymore.
But you know, progress isn't just about not dying. It's about the quality of life itself. And the data here reveals two more trends that are just astounding: a massive explosion in wealth and a dramatic, long-term decrease in violence.
Just think for a moment about what the word poverty actually means today. In the U.S., for instance, more than 80% of households below the official poverty line have air conditioning and a cell phone. More than 95% have electricity, running water, and a refrigerator. Now, hold that thought and consider this.
And here is the truly mind-blowing part. The wealthiest barons of the 19th century, we're talking the absolute richest people on Earth at the time, they lived without any of the basic amenities that are nearly universal today, even for the poorest among us in developed nations. That is an incredible transformation of the baseline standard of living.
Now, this next one might be the hardest to believe, but Pinker argues we are, statistically, living in the most peaceful time in human history. As this timeline shows, it's been a long, multi-stage process. Over centuries, we have systematically gotten better at taming violence, from constant tribal raiding and sky-high homicide rates all the way to, most recently, devastating wars between major world powers.
Okay, so this brings us to the big, obvious question, right? If life is longer, healthier, richer, and more peaceful than it has ever been,
Why are we all so cynical? Why are we so pessimistic? This is what we call the progress paradox.
Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is a little quirk in how our brains are wired called the availability heuristic. Basically, our minds mistake vivid, easily recalled events for common ones. The news gives us a constant stream of vivid disasters, terrorist attacks, plane crashes, while the slow, gradual, positive trends, the ones that truly change the world for the better, are psychologically invisible. They never make a headline.
Pinker uses this great simple analogy to push back against the idea that talking about progress makes us complacent. He argues it does the exact opposite. Recognizing that we've solved enormous problems in the past is precisely what gives us the confidence to tackle the ones we face today. Problems like climate change or inequality aren't signs that progress is a myth. They're the next pile of laundry that needs doing. And this leads us to the final and maybe the most crucial takeaway. Progress isn't some magical force that just happens on its own. It is a human achievement, and it depends on a very specific set of ideas and values that we have to understand and actively defend.
This quote really gets to the heart of it all. The gifts we take for granted, from vaccines that save our children to the simple fact that our sons aren't being drafted into a massive world war. These are the results of choices we've made and systems we've built. They are not guaranteed to last forever if we forget how we got them.
So what's the toolkit that built this better world? Pinker points to these three core ideals from the Enlightenment. Reason, the simple but powerful belief that we can understand the world. Science, our best method for sorting truth from fiction. And humanism, our moral compass, the goal that all this hard work should serve one purpose: to maximize human flourishing for everyone. So you see, Pinker's argument isn't just a feel-good story. It's a profound warning. Believing the world is irredeemably broken isn't just factually wrong, it's dangerous. It tempts us to throw away the very tools of reason and humanism that made all this progress possible in the first place. And that leaves us with a final, critical question. If we forget how we got here, is there any way we can keep going?